Welcome to Good Choices for Seniors. I'm Barbara Cowley, your host for today, and I'm so glad to be back. And I look forward to a very important show we're going to have today because it's all about nutrition. And of course, with the holidays coming, we have to pay attention to that, whether we want to or not. But before I get into our guest today and talk with her, I just want to let you know that the little folks that I have behind me are my collectibles. I have snowmen, and I collect them. And I like having them here for the holidays, so I hope you'll enjoy them as much as I do. Anyway, I'd like to introduce you today to Nora Clements. She's a registered dietitian, nutritionist, and she's with Nutrition Wellness Solutions. Am I right, Nora?
That's right, Barb.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Happy to be here with you.
Well, I am so thrilled to have you, especially a nutritionist. I really need one, as you can probably tell.
No.
Tiny and skinny. But I think nutrition is important, especially with the holidays coming up. I mean, there's no way to get around it. You really have to pay attention. And I know everybody says, oh, I just relax for the holidays and worry about it after New Year's.
Right.
And what's your answer to that, kind of, in a way? I mean, what do you tell people that say that to you, really?
Well, the holidays really extend for quite a while. I mean, when you think back, there's the Halloween candy, which kind of lingers into November, and then there's, you know, Thanksgiving, the best holiday of the year, all that great food and family, and then the December holidays. So a lot of opportunity for eating and relaxing, like you said. So I tell people, just really try to stay on a schedule and eat your healthy foods above all. And then, of course, you can take little opportunities to enjoy good things with friends and family, but just don't go overboard. I don't think that you should have an attitude of relax. Selective.
Yeah, so in other words, they should really focus on their regular routine with maybe a few amenities.
Well put. I like that.
Yeah, well, that's what, now I just have to practice what I preach. But I know nutrition is very hard for a lot of people. A lot of people, I think, find it hard to balance their diets, and because nobody keeps a diet directory in their kitchen or in their dining table or wherever. What are some of the things that we can do to help ourselves as far as balancing our diet and making sure that we're following through?
Well, balance really implies thinking about these things. These are my tips for people. Think about having a protein source with every meal, and I think that breakfast is really an important meal to start off with protein. Sometimes people get light with breakfast, have a bowl of cereal, out the door, cup of coffee, maybe. So I think it's important to have complete balanced meals. Start with a strong breakfast, and then keep that theme throughout the day.
Well, that I agree on. I drink a lot, non-alcoholic folks, but I do drink an awful lot every day. And is that really good for me to drink? I probably drink over a half a gallon, maybe 3/4 of a gallon of liquid a day. Now, it varies.
Of course.
But, I mean, is that okay? I mean, I don't have to have water, as everybody states.
That's a good point. So what I tell people about hydration, which really is my number one thing that I normally talk about even before food, is that we need to try to find a way to, first of all, know how much do we need. You mentioned the amount you drink. So what we should drink at a minimum, and it's okay if you go over a little bit, Barb, so I'm glad you do, is your weight divided by 2, and that equals ounces per day that you should drink. So it's an easy formula.
I mean, never heard that. That's an excellent idea to keep track.
Exactly. So, and like you said, it's not just water, but your tea, coffee. Of course, I recommend non-caloric beverages. Stay away from the sugar, sweetened drinks and the sodas and even the diet sodas. But at the end of the day, it's all about fluid, and that's a good guideline. And spread it out throughout the day so that you can stay energized, focused. It gives you good cognition, good detoxification, good elimination, all those things.
But what about the energy drinks that they have out there? I mean, those are sugar. And I mean, a lot of people drink them. I think I know I have done it. And I've even supplemented them for a meal, which I know is the wrong thing to do. However, when I find that when I'm working, I'm on the run all the time.
Right.
And so I'll grab one, put it in the car, and drink it as I drive, which is probably bad. But that is a sugar. I never could understand why it's an energy drink. It's got protein, everything in it. It's supposed to help you, and yet it's got all that sugar as well.
Oh, boy. Well, you know, manufacturers are not making things necessarily for our health. You know, they're
That's
selling.
true.
I mean, they're in the business to sell products.
Yeah.
And look, we love sugar. We're addicted to sugar.
Oh,
so
yes.
if we know it tastes good and it's got that sweet pop, you know, we're going to be drawn to it. Like you
Right.
said, it's efficient because it's in a can. We really are a society of convenience now, aren't we? And so there are better drinks in a can than others. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
But in general, my suggestion is the classic energy drinks that are just to get, you know, kind of like coffee
Right.
in a can. Those are definitely not healthy. I never recommend them. But
Right.
there are some protein shakes or protein meal replacements that are not so bad every once in a while.
Really? Okay, that's good to know because
Call me and I'll let
I've
you
been
know which
trying
ones.
to gain weight. That's where I'm at. And so everybody, all the doctors have said, drink protein because,
Right.
you know, I had lost a lot of weight recently.
Right.
And I find it very, do you know it's harder to gain weight?
Tell me about it.
It really, I mean, I've been working on it for months and I think I've gained 2 pounds in about 10 months.
Yeah.
I'm going, I can't believe this.
That's an unknown reality. It's much harder to gain weight.
It is very hard. I am very surprised by it, to be quite. And I'm not eating a lot of desserts or sweets. I've been concentrating on trying to eat food 3 times a day, which, you know, is one thing you can do. But what else can we focus on for hydration, you know, as far as having a problem, you know?
Gosh, well, you know, when it comes to hydration, I really try to keep it simple. Water is the best thing, number
Really?
one.
Yeah.
If you don't like the taste of water, I understand. You can splash a little bit of fruit juice in there or just put some fruits or
Right.
vegetables, cucumbers, essence of, right?
Right.
But you can also have some of the non-carbonated beverages if really you love carbonation, so you can get away from the sodas and the diet sodas, like LaCroix. They're just flavored, carbonated
Oh, yeah,
drinks.
yeah.
And they're fruity and they're good, but no sugar. So that's another choice. Good old iced tea, herbal tea, regular tea, decaffeinated tea. Small amounts of coffee are okay. I just say stay away from the sugary drinks.
Really?
And the diet sodas.
And you know, I've been hearing a lot about that. All of a sudden, it seems like lately everybody's saying stay away from diet sodas. Has something come up that is making that such a major issue?
Well, while the Food and Drug Administration has not yet banned the things that go into diet sodas, there really are a lot of studies and a lot of evidence that those chemicals are really harmful to us. So I just say they're chemicals. Try to keep chemicals away. Those artificial sweeteners, per se, really mess up our addiction to sugar and make us more addicted, make us crave it more. So we're having a diet soda, but then after that, we're craving an apple pie.
Oh, yeah.
So all kinds of negative issues to
Oh,
that.
gee, that's, you know, you're cutting my drinks right out the window here. I'm not going to have anything. Can you please explain to me what the difference is between processed and refined grains? I mean, when it comes to grains, I totally get lost on this process.
That's a great question. Thank you for asking it, because people right now are very confused about reading labels. And so when you think about grains, let's just say wheat, for example, we'll use that. That grain has an outer covering. And the manufacturers take that grain, the flour, and they take the outer shell off. So now what's left is the starch goblet. Doesn't sound very appetizing, but we make lots of things like white flour and then cereals, crackers, cookies, baked goods, and lots of boxed packaged things. When we eat those products, the body utilizes it the same way as sugar. So whether we eat sugar or a processed grain or enriched flour, which is synonymous for processed, I'm so glad you brought those 2 words up, it makes our body feel like it's eating sugar. And what do you think happens when we eat sugar? We get all happy and energized, and then we crash and burn.
I was just going to say, then we crash.
And then we get kind of moody and cranky because we want more. And then we
Right.
seek more, and then the cycle goes on and on. So
Really?
yeah, so those processed and enriched grains really are at the source of all the chronic illnesses that are out there. You know, diabetes, obesity, heart disease, cancer. You know, it's not so much we were avoiding fats for years. Now we really need to focus on those grains that are processed and eat whole grains.
What is probably one of the best ways for a person such as myself or one of the audience when it comes down to buying things like this and knowing, do they have to read every label, or are there certain places that establish, you know, refined or grains or whatever processed? I mean, it really makes it hard for people. Most people are rushing. They don't want to spend the time shopping and reading every label.
Oh, heavens.
You know, I mean, I understand that, I really do, but in the end, it's really important that they do, correct?
Well, it is if you want to make the right choices.
Right.
And what I tell people is disregard what the package says in the front, unfortunately, because that's marketing. Turn it to the side or the back, and past the nutrition label where all the grams are, at the very bottom where it says ingredients, if the first ingredient is enriched, then that is a processed and refined flour or grain.
Oh, that's
so if
easy.
it says whole wheat flour or brown rice or any other whole grain, then you know you've got a good product.
Oh, very good. So all I have to do is really go down to the bottom of that label.
Yes.
See, now I read everything until I get to the bottom. Then by the time I get to the bottom, I don't want to read it.
Yeah, your brain is just, you know, screaming, you know, what is this? What is this?
Yeah, because there was so, I mean, to read every label in a grocery store is absolutely impossible in my opinion.
Oh, yes.
You can't.
There's like 40,000 different things in a grocery store I read the other day. 40,000.
That many? Wow.
Maybe
Even
more.
I didn't realize that. But you know, what I try to do is if I'm buying something new, when I'm in the store, I do read the label on that.
On that.
And then decide whether it is a safe product that I want to try or not.
Right.
And if I decide no, then I know to stay away from that product the next time I'm shopping.
That's it.
Yeah, but
That makes sense.
Yeah, because some of the old products I've yet to look at, which may be a problem for some of us folks. You know, but I think, what else can you do? What can you choose instead of them?
Oh, besides the processed grains?
Right.
Well, the whole grains. And so the whole grains really are the ones that decades ago, when we were younger, that was available. That's really what, you know, our parents, our grandparents grew up with.
Right.
And they had much better health, I'm quite sure, than we are having now. So really, whole grain products, so the verbiage on that is not just whole grain, but if it's made out of wheat, for example, then it's whole wheat flour. And if it's made out of rice, you want brown rice. So those are the terms you're looking for. And for the most part, I will say things in a box or a bag are somewhat processed, not all, but you have to have that mentality that you have to be suspect that if it comes in a bag or a box and it's pretty, it might be processed. So
which is understandable, and I do agree on the whole grain. One of the things I never can get used to is the white rice. I love the brown rice. Actually, I'm very fond of it. I'd rather have that. I prefer it.
Good.
So that's something I've always had a keen to have. I can remember my mother serving the white and me looking the other way. Which is not a good thing to do when your mother tells you to eat your meal.
Yes.
But you know, I think it's so hard for people to cook, to buy. I mean, even, well, look at it from the standpoint, if we go to a restaurant and you order something on the menu, I mean, you don't know what is whole grains, what's refined, what's reprocessed. I mean, how can you enjoy your meal when you think about it? It must be very hard to do for people who are very picky or you know, intrusive as far as going into it and knowing everything that they're eating. I mean, what do you do for that? Anything?
Well, it depends on the restaurant, of course. I would say fast food restaurants are very challenging because there's very good choices. But let's just say any other type of restaurant. I believe that waitstaff now at restaurants and restaurant owners understand that the American people are looking for healthy alternatives, or at least some of us are. And so they're very used to having questions asked. So you know what?
Yeah.
Honor yourself, ask questions, and I find that everyone's always so kind to answer my questions.
Right.
So
and I think a
just
lot of
ask.
people are afraid to ask questions.
We shouldn't be.
I know it. I don't understand why when we
shouldn't
go
be.
to a restaurant where it is something we're paying for,
Right.
we're going to digest it,
You just said it.
and yet they won't ask
Yes.
questions.
Yes. And you know, remember, it's that old saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
True.
You can ask a wait
True.
staff with a smile on your face, hey, what's in this dish?
Right.
Or, hey, could you put the sauce on the side and I'll just take a little bit?
Right.
And they're usually so accommodating.
Yeah, they'll do it if you ask. I do agree
Absolutely.
with that. But I just find, I mean, but I know we've been talking a lot about grains and wheats and things like that, but when it comes to just sitting down to eat a meal, I mean, what about portion size?
right.
I would think that would be a big issue. I have a friend whose husband loves to eat, needless to say, and she used to always give him a dinner plate. And
Right.
so someone convinced her to give him a salad plate. And he has learned to adapt, and so he gets less at his table. But is that a good idea? I mean, is it healthy-wise? I mean, you know, he's a hard worker, he's a laborer, so,
Right, right.
you know, you wonder if you're hurting him in his job.
Well, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that
Okay.
particular circumstance because I don't know all the particulars.
Right, and I don't either, so.
But in general, I think that, let's just say, if a person is eating too much,
Sure.
and let's just say if they're overweight and they want to lose weight, eating on a salad plate is a good move because clearly, like you said, you're just going to eat a little bit less of
Right.
everything. So,
Unless you overload it.
yeah, you could do that, couldn't you? I'm sure there's a
But
way around
hopefully
things.
they won't. But no, I thought it was a great idea to do that, to help
do
him
too.
realize that he need, without saying anything, he was able to only put so much on a plate, and therefore he
Exactly.
was cutting back without really making a big issue out of it. So, when I think of foods like that, it's good.
That's practical. Those are practical approaches, absolutely. The other thing that I think about when I think of portions is that we've been so coached to think about the entree. What are we going to eat?
Yes.
Remember, where's the beef?
Yes.
So it's not so much, our focus shouldn't be so much on the protein, although I did say at the beginning of the program
Yes.
that I'm a very big fan of balance and a little bit of protein with every meal.
Right.
But the thing that we really aren't doing too well on is eating enough vegetables. So we really need to be
Yeah.
thinking about, if I should have brought a plate today just to show you, but if I had a plate, half your plate should be vegetables.
Really?
That's a tall order to fill for people that are not used to eating that many
Right.
vegetables. So
That would be.
in terms of portion control, it's easy to maybe reduce your protein if you're having too much, or reduce your grains or carbs if you're having too much, if you have something to replace it. And vegetables is where it's at.
Right. And potato is a vegetable, so actually people think they have to give up their potatoes,
Right.
which they really do not have to. So you can add that like with a broccoli or
Absolutely.
asparagus or whatever you prefer, But that's probably the hardest thing to do, I think, is to proportion.
Proportionate.
Yeah. I never realized how hard it was until I had to do it recently for someone,
Yeah.
and it really is.
Yes.
It's you have to constantly be aware of what you're putting in the food, how much you're sharing or
Yes.
serving, and the other thing is, what about dessert?
Well, what about dessert?
Do we go ice cream? Do we go yogurt? Do we go pie? I mean,
I know.
on an average meal.
Or
you
do we
know.
go chocolate?
Oh, I'm all for that. Yes,
me up.
most definitely.
Well, okay, so really, that depends on a few factors, but if you can eat all of the good things that bring the nutrition that
Right.
you're actually trying to nourish your body with, and there's caloric room at the end of the day, the meal, to fit in a dessert, I think every once in a while it's a good idea. I'm probably not going to recommend daily dessert. That's not a habit that I do recommend because honestly, that can just lead to a sweet tooth that can grow and grow and grow. So I am a fan of dessert here and there. How's that? And I'm a big fan of sharing desserts because at the end of the day, once we take that first bite, think about this. The first bite is the best bite. You take
I
a,
agree.
a spoon of that ice cream and
Yeah.
And then every other bite after that is delicious, but, so if we can think about sharing, then, a little bit of dessert goes a long way, and savor it. Eat it slowly and enjoy it. And have no guilt about it. Just enjoy it. But we just don't want to get carried away.
Yeah, I prefer to eat it not at my meal. I like to clean up, do the dishes, go in, sit down, and have some later when I'm watching the news or whatever, and just relax. And I tend to enjoy it more that way.
Because you're not so full.
You're not so full, And sometimes I feel like I'm forcing it because I had dinner and now I've got to eat dessert because we got to clean.
Yes.
And I find that very disruptive when it comes to desserts particularly. But, I hear a lot of people say, well, yogurt's good for dessert. Is it good plain with fruit? Which is better for you, either way?
Oh, yeah. Well, there's frozen yogurt, speaking of ice cream and the dessert conversation. And honestly, frozen yogurt has way more sugar than ice cream. So, sorry, dessert manufacturers, I would recommend if you're going to eat a frozen dessert, eat ice cream because you're going to get less sugar with the ice cream. So
I had no idea.
I know. So frozen dessert, frozen yogurt is again a manufactured product that has healthy food name in it, frozen yogurt, and we think we're getting a better product, but we're getting more sugar. But when it comes to eating yogurt for dessert, I think that's fantastic because it's milk, it's got protein in it. Preferably for me, of course, I'm a nutritionist. I'm not going to tell you to eat more things you don't need. But the fruited yogurt, of course, that would be to me more in the dessert category because the fruit that's in it isn't really fruit. It's just like a little marmalade.
Right.
So that's a sugary treat. So I would have that as a dessert. My favorite is to have plain yogurt with a little bit of fresh fruit and mix it up. That's the ideal.
Yeah, that's would be my favorite too. Just a little bit of the the fruit inside. I'm not a plain yogurt person, but I do love it, I should say, with the fruit. It makes it, and it finishes me.
Absolutely.
It completes me for the meal or for the day or whatever the case may be.
It's a good palate cleanser.
Yeah, but I'm curious with the holidays coming. I had a dear friend, and I can't imagine cooking a meal like this, but she was an Italian.
Right.
So she cooked a complete Italian meal and a roast turkey meal.
Wow.
And they sat, and she would tell me they would sit for 4 or 5 hours eating. I mean, I hope people aren't doing that today, but if they do, I mean, how could you possibly manage your weight, your sugar intake? I mean, people do things like that, but she did it every year.
Yeah.
And that's overwhelming to me. I mean, the lasagna, the pasta, the meatballs, whatever she did with it, and then have the turkey dinner on top of it, and eat it all at one time.
Sure. Well, I'm not
I'd
quite
have to get a goodie bag to take home.
Well, I think so too. And, when there's a table with all that deliciousness,
how do you say no to it?
Exactly. You know what? I take a little spoonful of everything, and here's another trick. Just eat it slowly, because sometimes the temptation is you might be overly hungry, because a lot of people don't eat to save their calories for that big meal.
Right.
And then they're overly hungry, and then they start scarfing down the food, and then you eat a huge pile of food, and you can really feel sick. I would say a little bit of everything. Take your time, breathe, put your fork down, enjoy the company, and you might take 4 or 5 hours, but you don't have to eat huge amounts.
Right.
Chew it slowly, because indigestion, you're going to pay a price. So just be selective.
And yet, if you're visiting, if I was at your home, I wouldn't want to say no to you. I'd want to eat everything you've put out.
Yes.
That was something I was taught. You taste everything, whether you like it or not.
Sure.
And that makes it hard for people to.
It does.
When you're in somebody else's home.
It does.
Not to have to take everything. And then you don't want to leave it on your plate.
Oh, I know. Clean Plate Club.
Yes, definitely.
Honorary members.
I am definitely an honorary member of that, thanks to my mother. But, nutrition to me is overwhelming.
It is today.
It is. I really find it hard to try and do something correct, and then I always mess it up no matter what I try. And I have a very, let me ask you this. This is one of my favorite problems. I have a poor appetite. I could go, well, I haven't eaten yet today. But I mean, how do you get somebody interested in making them eat and want them to eat? Is there anything that can be done as far, and I don't want pills or anything like that. I just want a creative way that I can say, oh, this is great, I'm going to eat all this, or at least eat half of it, or something on that idea. I find what I've been doing recently is when I'm at home, especially if I'm alone, and you don't want to cook that big meal for yourself, you know how that goes. I sit in front of the TV, and I find that by watching television, it takes my mind off of what's on the plate, and I find that fork gets into my mouth a lot more.
Okay, a little distraction.
A little distraction.
To make that happen.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, I was going to suggest things like set a mood, like whether it's TV for some people or music for others. And
yeah, I do music sometimes too, the CD.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it really does, I find it distracts me enough that I automatically start using the fork or the spoon and not even realizing I'm doing it, which helps me.
Here's something else, that our taste buds are actually connected to our sniffer. And so when we start to smell food in advance of eating, that really begins your digestive juices. And your neurotransmitters start saying, get ready, food's coming because I smell it. So there's something about maybe having a candle lit of sugar cookies, or a cinnamon candle, or apple pie, or just something that elicits a fragrance that says food.
That's great. That's amazing. I was going to get into a few other things today, but just talking with you.
We've done great.
My biggest suggestion to the people listening is enjoy the holidays, but in peace, and in proportion, and just have a wonderful meal and enjoy your company.
Absolutely. Be grateful, be with the people that you enjoy, and food is not going to fall off the face of the earth. Just, eat it and enjoy it, but don't overdo, just like I said at the beginning.
Nora Clements, thank you so much for coming in today. I do appreciate this. It's just wonderful. I think everybody needs to have a little idea of nutrition and what's coming up, especially with all the holidays. And I hope you enjoy your holidays as well as everybody else. And we will see you again. And until next time, think positive.